Members, if we can start coming in and we can start taking our seats. Good afternoon. What we'd like to do is start. I believe we're just about on time. So again, our goal is to finish on time, if not earlier. So I would just like to, before we begin, just a couple of admin is, I know we have our interventions, but please bear in mind that we have many members here that like to have their interventions as well. So again, try to keep your interventions short, to the point, and that would be very helpful so we can move this session quite faster than before. So with that said, again, I hope everyone had an excellent lunch and did some good bilateral meetings. Again, I'd like to thank the Vice Chair of the Council who chaired this Council's deliberations on my behalf. Thank you, Ambassador Rebecca Perez. Muchísimas gracias. Un placer. I declare open the meeting of the afternoon. I now invite the Council to turn to an agenda item 8, programmatic discussion on status of work on Energy Transition Accelerator, Financing, ETAF, and Climate Investment Platform. In preparation for discussions under this item, a background note with the same title set out in document C-26-BN-3 has been circulated. I now invite the Director General to introduce the topic. Director General, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The following section is set to expand on one of the core pillars of the Energy Agency mandate, which is to facilitate investment in renewable energy-based projects and programs across developing countries. To address challenges and disparity in investment, ARENA has prioritized our project facilitation work, and we are starting to see progress. In this regard, the Project Facilitation and Support Division, a division entirely dedicated to this endeavor, was established in 2020 upon approval from the ARENA Assembly. From 2013 to 2020, the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, ADFD, and ARENA collaborated in the ARENA ADFD project facility. Building on the success of this facility, which committed $350 million in low-cost capital to support 32 renewable energy projects across 24 countries, the agency has been spearheading 2 initiatives to continue its project facilitation efforts: the Climate Investment Platform, the CIP, and the Energy Transition Accelerating Financing Platform, the ETAF. CIP, which was established in 2019, is a demand-driven platform with a mandate to increase capital mobilization and renewable energy impact investing in developing countries. Project proponents registered in the platform are considered for technical assistance and project facilitation support to help them reach commercial feasibility readiness for financing matchmaking with over 80 financial institutions. CAP boasts more than 80 registered funding partners, including multilateral development banks, private equity providers, development agency, grant provider, and those offering not financial services. The focus of the CAP revolves around projects with low readiness levels, but high potential for sustainable development impact and an acceptable level of commercial feasibility. ARENA collaborates closely with eligible projects, assisting documentation development and providing technical support before introducing projects to potential investors among the CIP funding partners. To date, 4 projects have reached financial close in Benin, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Nigeria, amounting to over $40 million in mobilized capital and 45 megawatts in installed capacity. We also launched at the Energy Transition Accelerating Financing Platform, ETAF, at COP27. Similar to CIP, ETAF is an inclusive multi-stakeholder climate finance platform which addresses investment disparities and aims to advance the development of project pipelines, mobilize capital, and facilitate access to finance. In contrast to the CIP, ETAF is composed of a fixed number of partners who have made financial commitment with the target of implementing 5 gigawatts in installed capacity by 2030. As of today, we are pleased to say that ETAF has 6 partners: the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, the ASEAN Infrastructure Investment Bank, Masdar, Swiss Re, OPEC Fund, and the Inter-American Development Bank, who have committed an amount of $1.5 billion between them. We also have several other agreements underway, bringing on more partners at COP28 and beyond. Since its call for proposal was launched in 2022, ETAF has mobilized $1 billion and over 900 megawatts of installed capacity for 3 projects in Uzbekistan. We will now update the Council with further details on what has been achieved since the last Council meeting in May of this year. ARENA naturally remains at your disposal to provide further detailed information on both initiatives and any other facet of our work related to project facilitation. And with your permission, Mr. Chair, I give the floor to Director Ahmed Bakr. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, DG. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates from the Council and all member countries of ARENA. Allow me, before we start, since we are talking for a programmatic discussion, to highlight 2 important aspects. Talking about facilitating investment, we have to all change our mindset, gearing towards how banks and financing institutions and lenders are thinking to finance energy transition. That's not only enough, but also governments, and more importantly, private sector. So I really request you all to shift your mindset, how they are thinking. This is the only way to see what we are doing in project facilitation and facilitating investment. Very importantly, when we look about the 3 topics we're discussing about, what is our mandate? Our mandate as per ARENA constituency is that to speed up energy transition and basically capitalizing on very important aspects here. First aspect, is that the knowledge, huge knowledge base that's growing up by all IRENA divisions in order to ending with pushing forward energy transition. And then what are the tools in details? Our DG talked about it now. And finally, where do we stand? Where are we heading specifically for COP28 and beyond? So our flagship report, World Energy Transition Outlook, that every year we are updating it, says that to reach 1.5 degree pathway in a safe mode, between now until 2050, we need to spend globally around $150 trillion. If it's just compared with the normal energy scenarios, which are calling for $103 trillion, so the difference is $47+ trillion. This calls for at least $1.7 trillion have to be added. To this moment, we are not reaching this number. Quoting our Director General into this, every year after the other, the gap is expanding. These have called IRENA, when DG took office back in 2019, is that we need to close the circle, as presented yesterday in his presentation for the strategy for IRENA for the years to come. Mainly for going for 360 service provision by adding investment facilitation, as we just discussed. But given that IRENA is not a bank and will never be a bank, then the thinking out of the box calls for a very important aspect. How can we do it? The only way to do it, before moving to the next slide, is that the proven model coming from financing institution and from private sector is project-based intervention that leads for policy formulation and policy change. This is a key. Project-based intervention, the most global institutions doing such kind of energy transition in terms of numbers globally is IFC and EBRD. How they're doing that? Through project-based intervention that leads for policy formulation. And that's exactly what we discussed since the early beginning when we wanted to move for the second phase based on IRENA ADFD facility. How can we move very quick? So in discussion with founding partners, specifically ADFD, Masdar, and Swiss Re, and Inter-American Development Bank, we agreed that project-based intervention is a key, and that based on the knowledge-based huge database and big data analytics that we are doing inside BFS, where I mean IRENA, is that we capitalizing on, for example, the annual project costing report, the WITO, and all other regional and other avenues on the project facilitation, as I will explain in the coming slide. So basically, we have 4 pillars in project facilitation. Allow me to put all them together, and then I will talk one by one, because I'm going a little bit in a different way. The first one, I would like for pillar number 2, which is the investment forum and collaborative framework. We have to know very well that attracting projects is not the challenge. The challenge mainly for project facilitation is where are the bankable projects? Where are the projects that is ready to be financed, where financing institutions looking at? This is not to take from their mandate, because this is not our mandate. The mandate of IRENA to speed up energy transition. Doing that, we have to keep in mind that banks, they are prepared for their shareholders to basically go for how can they put financing, and at the end they will be counted for what kind of financial profitability they are doing based on their revenues. So for us to help on the other side, we have to articulate the demand to speed up the energy transition. It's a very simple formula. So investment forum is a very formula that's capitalizing again in the huge knowledge base that IRENA created. That's why it's always we're doing hand in hand this kind of investment forum with other divisions in IRENA. What does it mean? It means that similar to the same division of splitting the world into several sub-regions, because we know very well energy transition varies from one country to another, whether developed or developing. So investment forum, IRENA split the whole world in geographical terms into 14 regions. To give an example, Africa have been split into 5 regions: North Africa, South Africa, East, West, and Central Africa. And each of these we go for sub-regional forum, will basically collect projects within each region, and then we put these projects in discussion with banks, with financial partners, with project developers, and then whatever, for sure, before we present a project, it has to go through what we call it investment facilitation, meaning it has to undergo by IRENA through what we call it quality at entry, which it's even more hard than what World Bank is using through several tools like ISMAP tools, for example, which I'm sure you all esteemed delegates know about it. So based on quality at entry, I have to tell you that the not surprising number for us as IRENA, each 25 project, hardly we get one. That's very important number to tell you what exactly project facilitation is starting with. Not only that, we also started an initiative less than 2 years ago, which we call it collaborative framework. I have to say, I wanted to thank here the co-chair, which is Austria and Egypt, to co-lead the co-chair chairmanship for this collaborative framework. And I have to say also, to this moment, expected results from collaborative framework is not coming with what we are expecting, because the new tools for facilitating projects is not that much up to the speed that we are looking at versus the 1.5 pathway. But going back to the investment forum, I have to say that we have already done one for Southeast Asia during the Indonesia chairmanship for G20. And also we did the second one in small island developing states. And the results proving two important things. Project facilitation is labor intensive, is multidisciplinary, time intensive. It needs at least 6 to 1 year preparation to prepare a set of 12 projects. Travel intensive, discussion intensive, super intensive, which is normal. If you look for any bank or lender to prepare for a project, I can give you 3 important numbers. World Bank, in the discussion that DG and myself attended, they are saying they are taking 24 to 27 months to get project up to speed, versus EBRD between 6 months to 1 year. The good thing for us is that based on our quality at entry, and here I'm not praising anybody, but I'm saying because we are looking for project beyond the maturity or beyond the conceptual stage, it takes from us between 3 months to 1 year. That is the average time we have. That's based on the statistics. But investment forum is a very good avenue to attract project with more focus on some region. That's very important. That's exactly that, in order to stimulate the demand. So collaborative framework and investment forum to stimulate the demand from countries and private sector. But the tools itself to look at the projects is basically the climate investment platform, which basically to go a little bit focus on climate investment platform in terms of numbers. In there, I will give more details in the. We will go for quantitative analysis in the next slide, and then qualitative analysis in the slide before last. So climate investment platform, when we started, to this moment, we supported 47 projects. We provided our technical assistance with our limited resources, but we did it. Out of these 74 project proponents, whether governments or private sector, who are able to complete documentation to present it to the interested lenders, 32. So imagine, and if I tell you that we received more than 300 projects that we supported 74, and finally we are reaching 32 completed documentation, only 4 have been closed. You can see to what extent the gap in the policy tools that needed to be in place in order for investors and lenders to come in. And then we refer that back in a closed cycle, as DG presented yesterday, into our other division to look how can we improve policies more. Actually, the difference between ETAF and the climate investment platform in a very high level way is that dedication of soft pledge, not commitment. Soft pledge funding, meaning that banks will never give money to IRENA to manage, but banks keep their money. But through a dedicated commitment plans where IRENA is driving, we are coming together. To this moment, we are 6 partners, as DG mentioned. And to give the names is at ADFD, Masdar, Inter-American Development Bank, OPIC Fund, and Swiss Re. You can see that in less than 1 year because the ETAF was signed and launched among those partners, the various four of them, Masdar, ADFD, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and Swiss Re, during, on the 8th of December, during the Energy Day in the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. And we dedicated at that time $900 million. Now we are 6 partners, adding OPIC Fund and IDB, we are reaching 1.25 billion. You can see that the pipeline is moving very fast simply because here we don't need to make big effort to look for quality at entry. Banks, and this is novelty of ETAF, is working in a reciprocal way, meaning we could accept the project from our pipeline, from our member countries, but also banks, they could bring a project to co-blend together with other banks. And this is the beauty of ETAF. The other important aspect that ETAF is not working is based on the very important feature of trust fund, which is the normal model started by World Bank. No, it works based on the European model, which basically decentralized approach and based on collective due diligence. For that, the pipeline is mobilizing very quickly, reaching 42 projects, reaching 5 gigawatt, which is a target of Mega. And to this moment, 11 projects is under matchmaking in a very serious advanced stage. And we financially closed 3 projects that DG referred to amounting for 900 megawatt. And we're expecting by COP28, we're reaching nicely more than 1 gigawatt of projects. Finally, I have to say that in addition to that, we are using the technical assistance on demand-driven approach, and we are partnering most of the time with our countries, most of which, not all of them coming from developed countries. And I would like to thank here United States, government of Iceland, for their support for several projects in small island developing states in some type of technology like geothermal. We are doing a very great job, as well as the case of Ukraine, that we are doing really great job to support the country under conflict. That's really very important. And we are continuing in that together for some small island developing states, as well as the country of Ukraine. So let's go for some quantitative analysis. As you can see from this map, globally, between CIB and ETAF, we are reaching almost, sorry, I have to go back. We are reaching about 470 projects. And you can see that the vast majority of project applications coming from Africa, list region is small island developing states, but the highest projects coming in a bankable way is Asia. That's very important to say. The weakest, or not weakest, I'm sorry to say it like that, the least region that's basically coming with projects on bankability side, or even on the project submission of application in terms of numbers, is MENA. Why we're putting this analysis? It matches very well with what basically our banking partners are saying, that we are all supporting Africa. I remember very well what DG mentioned yesterday and the discussion between today and yesterday, that there is a need to support Africa to come with bankable projects. It's not about number they submit projects, it's a number of what is bankable, what is financeable, that project lenders, project corporates will be really ready to finance. If you go a little bit for qualitative analysis, you can see very clearly that while CIB started 4 years ago, you can see that the steep curve for progressing is on ETAF side, simply for 2 important buzzwords. First one is actually about dedication of funds. Secondly, and more importantly, the power of banks. Our partners are the one who are driving the delivery of projects. That's really very important. Because, Irina, again, we are just only facilitating, we are preparing a bankable project for them to take a decision. So I have to say that for Uzbekistan, our partners, Masdar and AIB, was super quick. We closed the project in less than 90 days. And we did our structuring efforts together with Masdar and AIB. Among EBRD and European Investment Bank, and the FMO was basically the syndicators. But actually, the transaction restructuring was done by IRENA. And that's basically proving the fact that project facilitation, in terms of facilitating investment, is a key. Let's look very quickly and to give esteemed delegates is that what is our target and what we are heading specifically for COP28. To this moment, we moving nicely, as I mentioned earlier, to close 1,000 megawatt or 1 gigawatt of renewable energy. We are reaching 932 to this moment. And also we are planning to conduct 3 regional workshops, plus capacity building, and also increase pipeline into 5 megawatt. That's exactly the goal. So where do we stand? To this moment, 932 of projects have been financially closed, whether under ETAF or CIB. We already done a project investment forum in Caribbean. The second one will be happened in 2 weeks in Latin America. We also have done 1 capacity building workshop for Ukrainian officials in October in our office in Bonn. And the project pipeline is basically reaching 4.2 gigawatts, specifically under ETAF. We still continue with our webinar as recommended by some of the members yesterday. And we've also finalized a very important document. We call it officially joint declaration, but it's exactly the board charter, how the ETAF partners will collaborate and will meet. Putting 6 banks who will come together very soon to be 12 is not an easy job. I can tell you this. If you look at the CIF of the World Bank, the amount of effort to convene the partners is hilarious for about I think 11 partners. We are going to be 12 very soon. So we had to put some kind of framework, and we signed it already 2 weeks ago among the 7 partners, and the 5 will come more, as the DG mentioned, to be signing and to join in the COP28. So that's exactly everything. The 5 additional institutions, because most of which they are all finalized, with the permission of DG, I can say they are World Bank, coming by MEGA and IFC. That will be EBRD, that will be CABE, and also the HSBC. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're also doing capacity building in Moldova, and the Q1 for the 3rd workshop, why in Q1 2024, for some logistical arrangement that we need to do with the host country for the West Africa Investment Forum. Before giving the floor to the delegates, I just wanted to say one thing. It's very important, again, to repeat what I started with, that when we work with banks, the key success for ETAF and CIB is our funding partners. And mainly for ETAF is our banks. We are driving their force for the benefit of our member countries. I have to repeat that because this is a key. So putting 6 banks together, and very soon to be a dozen of banks, to put their effort for energy transition, I think it's unique. And one final issue, one of the 3 funding partners or 4 funding partners, they are coming with de-risking capital. By that, ETAF will be the global lead de-risking capital. That will be MEGA, Islamic Development Bank through ISIC, and Swiss Re, as well as EBRD. I thank you very much for your active listening. The floor over to you for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director General and Mr. Badr. I now open the floor for interventions. I give the floor to the United States.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Director General, Mr. Badr, for your presentations and your comments. The United States applauds the work of the PFS division. We think it's done remarkable work since its founding in 2020. We think that the approach of PFS has already demonstrated great success, as demonstrated by the financial close under the ETAF platform. And we think that there's further promise that is still to be delivered on. We note that under the spirit of the results-based framework, which will be adopted in the next biennium, that our colleagues in PFS have a certain advantage compared to some of the other divisions under IRENA, in that the results that you're working towards are quantifiable and measurable, especially under the ETAF and the CIP. Focuses that you have. We want to encourage you to make sure that your technical assistance and capacity building work, as well as your investment forums and collaborative frameworks, are also aligned to show outcome and impact, and that is measurable and linked to everything that you're working on. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I now give the floor to Panama.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Dear Dr. La Camera and members of the Council, the government of Panama congratulates IRENA for being leaders in the ETAF platform, which mobilizes capital from financial institutions such as the Multilateral Development Bank and the corporate sector in order to accelerate renewable energy and transition to greener energy for developing countries. Panama needs this type of platform because every time that we have identified the fact that we need to reach the objectives as a country for this energy transition goals, and therefore the updating of the contributions that have been determined at national level, in the short term, we need approximately $4 billion for public and private investment. This is what is needed. And in this sense, we are working to develop a national fund for energy transition called FONDE because of Spanish letters. Now, this will help us transform economic sectors in Panama in order to be more productive and competitive through the generation of sustainable energy. This fund will be of key importance for financing for the implementation of programs and projects for mitigation and adaptation to climate change that imply decarbonization, digitalization, decentralization, and democratization of sustainable energy within the action lines that can have national strategies that are derived from the agenda called energy transition and contributing to become more resilient on climate matters through energy and financial resources that will foster equal rights to clean energy. This fund will support the following: universal access to energy, rational and efficient use of energy, electrical mobility, distributed generation, innovation of interconnected national grid, green hydrogen and its derivatives. The fund will gather various local and international players to be able to discuss financial availability to be able to comply with our objectives. Therefore, we see there's an important opportunity to collaborate with the ETAF and CIP platform. We suggest to IRENA to create more forums on sensitization for Panama and the rest of the Latin American region. Every time we see that most of the countries are in similar, we coincide, we're quite similar, and these activities could be developed in collaboration with other organizations such as SICA and OLADE, with whom IRENA already cooperates through the RELAC initiatives. Thank you.
Gracias, Panama. Turn the floor over to Italy.
Thank you, Chair. Within the framework of the international commitment to mobilize 100 billion US dollars annually to combat climate change for the benefit of developing countries, Italy has pledged to contribute 1.4 billion euros each year from 2022 to 2026. A significant portion of this commitment will come, about 840 million annually, will come from a new Italian climate fund. This fund represents the main national tool to contribute to the global commitments on climate finance. Italy has decided to prioritize the needs of the African continent. Indeed, a significant portion of the resources, about 3 billion euros of the 4 billion allocated, will be dedicated to African countries, evenly divided between mitigation and adaptation initiatives. Although the Italian Climate Fund is currently in the implementation phase, both the ETAF and the CIP platforms could be potentially fruitful partners. In this regard, we took note of the ETAF progress, and we are evaluating whether the Italian Climate Fund management rules are compatible with their use in the context of the ETAF. Thank you.
Thank you, Italy. Now turn the floor over to Spain.
Good afternoon again. I would like to thank this interesting initiative from Irena. And before we've said this, but I would also like to thank all of the partners and participants who have promised funds for this initiative. Congratulations and thank you very much. We believe that these initiatives can be used, especially in areas where banking and financing is much more difficult. And so priorities areas that we see, the first one is perhaps related to development that we could call like a traditional development of renewable energies. But we also see some other niches for work. We think it is a challenge, but it'd be very interesting to look into financing distributed generation, and it means that these projects are much more difficult for them as far as finding financing is concerned, but they're very important for the community, and we understand this is very important. And so it does actually affect more than traditional projects. Also, storage is important. And in those places where the networks are not very robust, storage can help also with this generation and be very positive. We are here at your disposal, as we said yesterday in our general statement. If you are interested, if we can help you for any project in the phase before financing. So, of course, we will help you for free, naturally. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to you all.
Barbuda.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director, for the presentation. I think it was extremely good. I think noting, seeing the figure of $1.5 billion being pledged is critically important for countries like Antigua and Barbuda, given where we are currently in our transition aspirations. I think I'm also pleased to see the strong support that the private sector is coming on board in terms of ITER. We do see the private sector as being also an important player in how we look at our transition. I think I'm also pleased to see that there are 29 projects in the pipeline for SEDS. I think perhaps it shows the type of importance that SEDS see within ETAF. I think that being said, however, I did indicate during one of my earlier presentations that there is a need for IRENA to start moving in a direction that is more fit for purpose, and in particular, the SIDS Lighthouse. And I do see a connection between how ETAF can facilitate the type of transition that at least that Antigua and Barbuda would have in mind in seeing how the SIDS Lighthouse can perhaps move into a direction of continue to provide the type of policy framework and analysis that is important for SIDS, but also become this type of facilitator of implementation of projects that's also important for us because of the importance that we have placed within the SIDS Lighthouse. However, my concern is the fact that given the financial challenges facing states and perhaps LDCs in particular, and the scheme and the magnitude of projects that we're putting forward perhaps are not as scalable as other countries. Whether or not there are possibilities for a special window or a special allocation that is dedicated to states and LDCs in particular, I think that would allow us to continue to engage within ETAF, but also be assured that as we look at the overall financing, that financing would be dedicated for states and LDCs given our special circumstances.
Thank you very much. Now turn the floor over to Egypt.
شكرا سيد رئيس. أقدم كلمتي بالعربية. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Due thanks to the DG via Irina and the head of PFS at IAE. At IRENA, as you mentioned, we need to develop how we implement projects and how we mobilize finance. IRENA has knowledge bases, scenarios, tools, and methodologies that facilitate renewables-related projects. Member states should know how to capitalize on these resources to be fit for their purpose. Working through a cooperative framework to facilitate projects needs more interactive cooperation and participation by member states, including knowing the national contexts, overcoming the challenges that face mobilization of funding, and prepare requests that would convince companies to be on board and finance these projects. In this context, the cooperative framework is a platform owned by the member states, and it's our honor to cooperate with Austria in this regard to achieve the aspirations of the member countries, but this should be supported by IRENA in facilitating financing IRENA. This is a platform for dialogue that would be provided by ETAF, CIP, and others. Some geographic locations do not benefit from the existing platforms, and hence we need to open dialogue about the barriers and challenges that we should overcome and classify them according to the magnitude or size of projects, or consider them institutional barriers or others in order to facilitate dealing with them in future. We reiterate once again that your interactive participation is how we should move forward to overcome climate challenges and adapt to its impacts. Thank you very much.
Turn the floor over to Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. The little intervention is just to repeat what I said yesterday, that last year, together with IRENA, we planned the first West African Investment Forum, but it couldn't hold. So this is a very good opportunity to repeat the same thing, that we've initiated discussion about it, how to hold it early next year. And we attach much importance to this because already we have energy transition plan in place. And based on the preliminary calculation, it will require about $10 billion annually to drive the plan. And again, our business to business is very active now. So having such investment forum in Nigeria for West Africa, I think it will be a very good opportunity to enhance our business to business platform. So when I get back home, I think I give appropriate report to the leadership of the country, and we see how can we expedite action on hosting the first West African Investment Forum. Thank you.
Excellent. Great to hear in Nigeria. I'd now like to turn the floor over to Costa Rica.
Thank you, Mr. President. We would like to start off by congratulating the unit of projects and its director, Mr. Ahmed Badr, for the excellent effort that he is making and continues to project into the future. The United States said something very interesting, and we subscribe to it, and that is that they have measurable and tangible projects, that unit that is. And as they are identifiable, it is much easier to observe the value of that unit and direction within the whole entourage of this investment. And that's a very valuable point. Now, I would like to highlight that when you have clear, tangible, measurable goals, then you have a clear goal that can be more successful. That's the first thing. And the second thing that we wanted to mention is in line with what Panama said. For us, the effort that is made in Central America and all of Latin America, especially in Central America, through the instrument which is called in Central American integration, it's really valuable because, as my colleague said not too long ago from Panama, we are all in process of decarbonization, and although we all have slightly different realities, we share general matters with regards to climate change and the challenges that we face. In Costa Rica right now, we are prioritizing the matter of decarbonization in public transport. We're actually quite a green country already. So the matter of emissions has to do with this, and it is a reality they would like to change. And the government of our President Rodrigo Chavez has decided that he will definitely give this added value. Additionally, we consider that now that we're facing COP28 and the proposals and all of the development that will be talked about at that time will be of utmost importance. And of course, we will be supporting these efforts to be able to have a COP meeting that will also generate results with regards to the efforts to be able to change our energy matrix towards something that is cleaner, sustainable, and greener. So we wish you every success in the meeting that you will be having in Montevideo. It's also in Montevideo because that's a very important meeting to talk about Latin America, and they are present here in this organization. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Costa Rica. I'd like to turn the floor over to El Salvador.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you, Irina, for your presentation. We thank you very much for all the work conducted by Irina to kick off these investment forums, the fora, which is, of course, to make the most of decision makers to come up with solid opportunities for energy transition, as well as the ability of developers to come up with bankable projects. These are very important for all our countries. El Salvador will actively engage in the forum that will take place in Uruguay, and presenting projects under the ETAF platform. We have then present any project that's bankable is welcome, and we hope that this Montevideo forum will be successful. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, El Salvador. I'd like to turn the floor over to Austria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Austria would like to thank the ARENA Secretariat for the insightful presentation and the updates delivered on ARENA's activities in the field of project facilitation. Over the course of the past 2 days, we have heard several times from different delegations how important access to financing is to successfully deliver the energy transition. The ETAF platform and the Climate Investment Platform are two such tools that are available to all member states. As co-facilitator of the collaborative framework on project facilitation, together with Egypt, Austria is trying to make those platforms more tangible for member states. However, for our collective work to be fruitful, we rely on your active engagement and feedback so we can continuously improve our work. Austria would therefore like to encourage member states to participate in those discussions around the ETAF platform and the CIP in our collaborative framework on project facilitation. As the Director General has mentioned before, IRENA is our agency, so let us work together and make use of what we have here. Thanks again for your hard work, and we continue to stand ready to work with you on this important issue.
Thank you, Austria. And now I'd like to turn the floor over to Ukraine.
Dear Director General, dear Mr. Chair, Ukraine shares the vision and values of IRENA in its efforts to drive energy transformation, promoting renewable energy sources and supporting countries in their energy transition. Ukraine successfully develops and implements the renewable energy projects even now in the state of Russian invasion of Ukraine. But more projects to go. The ETAF instrument aligns perfectly with our vision of a green future. Having a number of ready-to-invest projects, I am sure that Ukraine will contribute to the ETAF success story. The Ukrainian side would also like to express appreciation to Director General Francesco Lacomera and his team, particularly Dr. Ahmed Badr, as well as to our partners for supporting the initiative to conduct a special training for Ukrainian energy sector representatives. We look forward to the continuation of our successful cooperation with IRENA, even on the wider range of topics, especially in the context of the upcoming COP28. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ukraine. If there are no other further comments, I now give the floor to the Director General to address the issues raised and provide overall reactions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for all the intervention on this item and the appreciation of the establishment and the work of ETAF. So I think that ETAF is there not just because IRENA has been able to put together a few partners on providing funding for projects. ETAF is important because it shows the utility and the usefulness of all the work of IRENA on the knowledge base. So IRENA is a supporting country in their planning. Imagine, 84 countries have been supported on presenting the NDCs. We are collaborating with the country in assessing their readiness for renewables. We are working on trying to identify the right policies for having more investment in renewables. So we provide the framework, the context that could be more useful for two main reasons. One, that the investment that are going to the countries are based on the planning that the country themselves own. So there is a bottom-up approach. The second aspect is that the projects are projects that are coming from the country, private, public projects, are consistent with the planning. And we as ARENA, we can also work in collaborating with the proponent to a first assessment of the bankability of the project. This ensures coherence with the domestic planning and ensure the reduction of the transition cost of all the entities that would put funding. So through ETAF, we are really putting on the ground all our knowledge and our capacity to work with the country. That's the reason I think that we really appreciate our support on this initiative. And I really invite my Italian colleague, if there is a really interest from the Fondo per il Clima to be part of ETAF, I think it could be fit perfectly, as it could be perfectly fit all other contribution to the ETAF platform. ETAF could be also useful in the APRA initiative, the one we have in Africa. It will be a very important challenge for ARENA. That will be possibly one of the most important line of work for the month and years to come. That's all from my side. Thanks.
Thank you, Director General and Mr. Badr, for your reflections. Do I take it that the Council takes note of the presentation of the Secretariat and the interventions made on this matter? I hear no objections. It is so decided. This concludes